right, so as I've been doing these videos, I've been coming across like really just like talking to you and preaching to you. I'm gonna pretend today like I'm having a conversation with somebody, maybe change up my style a bit of my videos or vlogs or whatever you want to call this. All right, so people ask me all the time, how do I achieve the results I want in my life? How to become more successful? And so here's advice I give most people that ask me that question. So I'm gonna share it with all of you. Now, it wasn't too long ago, I had the privilege of flying private with a mentor of mine by the name of Bob Proctor. It was a couple years ago, and every time we would fly to events, he would always ask me some very thought-provoking questions to get me to really think about myself, about my results, about my business. And one question he asked me in particular got me really to understand what I needed to do every day to ensure that I reach the goals that I set for myself. And so when we were flying, and he pretty much came out to me and said, Chris, here's a question for you. Why do you think I get to fly private all the time, but most people always just fly economy? They barely even fly first class. Now, why do you think that's the case? And, my first real, thought process was, well, Bob, this is really easy. You have the money to fly private. It's common sense. And he's like, Chris, no, that's not the reason why. Think a little bit more. And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe it's who you know. I've always been, under that impression that, who you know could probably hook you up with some good business opportunities, give you the right connections, which is partially true. But in this situation, again, Bob said to me, no, that's not the case. He said there's two things that if you just really applied every day in your life, you would be able to achieve whatever it is you're going after. See, but most people just don't do them. And that's when I was all ears. I'm like, what are the two things that he's not telling me, that he's been getting me to think really hard about? And he pretty much told me this. Two things. First thing is you must be persistent. He said, whatever you're doing in life, doesn't matter what it is, you have to be very persistent. Not taking no for an answer. Too often, most of us will give up at the first sign of defeat. When things get very tough, we're like, you know what, I'm going to pull back and try something new. This is something that I've always done, even for myself. So I'm not an expert on this in terms of always being persistent. I think I'm a very persistent individual. I'm also very stubborn, which is the same thing. But there's been times when things got very tough, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, and I totally just want to give up on whatever it is I'm working towards. Yesterday was a perfect example of that. I didn't want to make a video today. I was not feeling up to it. It was raining outside. I thought, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. But that conversation came up into my head of being like, no, you must persist. You must create some form of content and put it out there, because obviously that's something that I'm pushing myself to do as often as possible. So I know I got to do that. Now, the second thing he said is that, persistence will always get you to your goal. He's like, that's it. If you persist every single day, you give it your all every single day, you will get there. But the next thing he said is that you also need to be consistent, because the person that maybe reached the goal, but then stops being consistent with the activities they did to get to that goal, well, guess what? They will lose it. And you see that a lot where people have tremendous amount of success, in a short period of time or the next couple of years, and then you talk to them maybe like a year later or even a month later, and it's not there, and they don't understand what happened. Well, they stopped doing the things that got them to that point, right? You see the entrepreneurs that are very successful, they're always very consistent with their actions, right? Even when I've coached people in the past in their own business, it's like, listen, if you want to get more sales up in whatever you're working in, you should be treating it like a job, or like if today you didn't make a sale, you would be fired. So how would you treat your activities? Well, you'd probably be very consistent with picking up the phone, reaching out to people, and sharing your product or service, whatever it is you're working on at that time, with people who are potential customers of your product. It's pretty much just it. And so those two things are vitally important to become more successful in anything that you do. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. But there's one thing that I want to add to this that I think a lot of people underestimate. And it's something that I've been hearing a lot on social from a lot of different people that I follow, and it's having patience. You got to be persistent, you got to be consistent, but you also have to be patient. Especially with young people, you're probably watching this thing, I would say in 30 and under, you guys want to wake up in a new Bugatti like tomorrow. You don't understand that it takes a long time for things to happen and unfold. A long time, right? One of my mentors early on in my network marketing career, he was earning millions of dollars. I remember having a conversation with him, being like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe the type of money you're earning. This is crazy to me. And he said, Chris, well, you didn't really see what happened in my early ages of, network marketing. He told me that for 10 years, he barely earned any money in his business. Matter of fact, he had to take a paper route to pay for his auto delivery at the time to just stay alive and active in his organization. For 10 years, this guy worked this business every day, he said, was doing meetings, doing calls, and nothing happened. And at the 10th year mark, the 11th year came, and he received his first six-figure income check inside the network marketing profession. And he said since then, he's never seen his income drop lower than that, and obviously he's earned millions of dollars in the space. And so I'm telling you right now, whatever hustle you have that you're working on, it's gonna take time. There's no one that I've ever come across that just woke up tomorrow and success just showed up in their lap. They were very persistent, they were very consistent on what they did, but they also were very patient. So adopt these 3 things. I'm telling you, life will be much easier if you just apply these simple steps every single day.